Hi everybody, I'm Greg Fishel. Welcome to bonus weather video number 1 for this week, and it's going to be about Oscar, the storm that developed very, very rapidly on Saturday and eventually made landfall on the eastern tip of Cuba and is still causing some very heavy rains across parts of the Bahamas and the eastern portions of Cuba. But I wanted to go back through a bit of an itinerary on this because it really just surprised everybody with what happened. Okay, so first thing I'm going to look at here is what I showed you on Friday evening. And at this point, we had potential tropical cyclone 15 that did turn into tropical storm Nadine, and it did make landfall, crossed Central America, and now is Christy, because they have a different set of names in the Pacific as opposed to the Atlantic. So this thing was given a 30% chance of developing. Now 30 is not zero, okay? I often hear this, some people talking like they want to play golf and they say, well, the chance of rain is 20%, so it's not going to rain. The last time I checked, 20 is not zero, okay? Zero just has one number in the ones column, and 20 has a number in the ones column and a number in the tens column, okay? So they are not the same. Now, admittedly, 20% is not a high chance, and most times you'll probably get your round in with no problem. But if one or two thunderstorms pop up and one's over top of you on that golf course and you say, well, that forecast was wrong. No, it wasn't. Okay, there was a 1 in 5 shot that was going to happen over any one given spot in whatever geographical area you're talking about. And so that type of thinking is not real healthy, and it will get you in trouble at some point in time. All right, so that's what it was, 30%, and they did talk in the discussion about how down the road the upper level winds were going to become so strong that additional development was not likely. Okay, let's move on ahead now. This is the tropical weather outlook issued at 2 a.m. on Saturday morning, and I want to highlight this part of it. Some gradual development of this system is possible this weekend while it moves generally westward at 10 to 15, passing over Hispaniola, the Turks and Caicos, southeast Bahamas, and extreme eastern Cuba. By early next week, further development is not expected due to strong upper level winds. So formation chances through 48 hours, 30%, through 7 days, 30%. And the idea there is that if it didn't develop in the first 48 hours, it was going to have a hard time doing so. But this is 2 a.m. Saturday, okay? And 48 hours from that is 2 a.m. Monday. But notice they use the words gradual development. Where is that word? Right here. Some gradual development. Okay. Now, and by the way, this is not a criticism of the Hurricane Center. Okay. I don't know of anybody that saw this coming. All right. So 8 a.m. Saturday morning, 6 hours later, near the southeastern Bahamas, showers and thunderstorms are becoming better organized with a small area of low pressure located less than a couple hundred miles north of the northern coast of the Dominican Republic. In addition, recently received passive microwave imagery suggested a well-defined surface circulation could be developing. If these trends continue today, a tropical depression or storm could form as soon as later today as the system moves generally westward at 10 to 15. Now the chances, instead of being 30-30, are 60-60. Okay, that all happened in 6 hours. Okay, that's 8 a.m. Saturday. Now let's go to 11. 3 hours later, and 9 hours later than the outlook that had a 30% chance of gradual development. Small tropical storm Oscar forms just east of the Turks and Caicos. Tropical storm warnings in effect for the southeast Bahamas and the northeastern provinces of Cuba. So in 9 hours, we've gone from a 30% chance of gradual development to a named storm. It gets better. At 1:10, Air Force Reserve hurricane hunters find Oscar stronger. Indicates the tropical storm Oscar is stronger than previously estimated, with maximum sustained winds of at least 70 miles per hour with higher gusts. The minimum pressure has fallen to 991 millibars. A special advisory in lieu of the standard intermediate advisory will be issued by 2 p.m. So at 1:10, this is still less than 12 hours from that 30-30 tropical weather outlook. 2 o'clock advisory. Recon finds tiny Oscar a hurricane. In 12 hours, a 30% chance of gradual development to a hurricane. And there's where it was located at that particular point in time. Hurricane warnings up for the Turks and the Caicos and the southeast Bahamas. And this is what it looked like A day later, a little bit more than 24 hours later, at 5:50 p.m. Sunday, as it made landfall in the extreme eastern tip of Cuba. Pretty healthy looking system, at least from a thunderstorm perspective, but also quite small. Now, this is wild speculation on my part, and there may not be any truth to this whatsoever. And I haven't heard anybody else speculate about the physics or the thermodynamics as to why this happened. But this was the American model forecast for the winds at 250 millibars, which is way up at about 35,000 feet. So this is one area you would look to see if there was a lot of vertical wind shear going on. So I don't know how well you can see the boundaries here, but this is the island of Hispaniola here, and then you have Cuba in here. Now, if you look real carefully, there's a streamline, if you will, a little arrow here that indicates an upper level low sitting here just barely north of the coast of South America, okay? Now, one of the tricky things about upper level lows with tropical systems is that if the winds that are associated with that upper level low are really, really strong over top of the tropical storm or hurricane, it will disrupt it, okay? Because it's like sucking heat out of a chimney. If you leave the chimney flue open and you have strong winds blowing over top of your chimney, it's going to suck that heat right out of your living room, and your fire will not be doing you any good at all. So that is a possibility, but the other thing is that they're not that strong. Then just ahead of upper level lows, it's the same thing as it is with troughs in the middle latitudes, is that it creates what we call a divergence aloft pattern, which leads to low level convergence, okay? So it's a balancing act here, but upper level lows are not all bad when it comes to tropical systems, okay? It's a little bit more complicated than that. So this was a 42-hour forecast from Thursday night at 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon when it became a hurricane. And the only thing I wanted to point out here is that here is Cuba up in here, and the upper level low is here. And you notice these winds in here are not all that terribly strong. Then, as we head toward 8 a.m. Friday, 12 hours later, this is a forecast verifying at the same time, and these winds in here are starting to become a little bit stronger. They're stronger still at 8 p.m. Friday, with the forecast verifying for 2 p.m. Saturday. And the upper level low, instead of being down here near the South American coast, is farther to the north and east. And then finally, 8 a.m. Saturday, a 6-hour forecast for 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Those winds haven't increased that much, but they're certainly stronger than they were in the forecast from back on Thursday night and Friday morning. And again, the upper level low is a little bit farther to the north and east. Is the gained proximity of this upper level low to Oscar that was up in this position here, did it help to create a more divergent wind pattern aloft? I can't say that definitively, and I'm not going to say it definitively. I'd have to look in this a lot deeper than just this brief time that I've had to look at it. Or is there a little patch of deep, warm water that it didn't show up in the analysis, that this thing passed over and made quick use of it? These are all things that will probably go into to research papers, I hope anyways. The same way I hope that research papers take a look at Helene and Milton and why the Doppler radar showed 130 to 150 mile an hour winds a few thousand feet above the surface, and very little of that made it down to the surface. There's always going to be some reduction just due to friction and the fact that land is rougher than water is. But that was, I mean, like when I was in Perry, Florida, you know, the Doppler was showing 130 mile an hour sustained winds 3,000 feet above me. And the highest gust we had at the Perry airport was 99 miles per hour. That was the highest gust. And the highest sustained wind was 55. It wasn't even hurricane strength, okay? So something was going on there. Something was preventing those stronger upper level winds from mixing down. And I hope, and I suspect they will, I hope the research community does a lot of work on that, because obviously it has impacts on human beings. I mean, the big difference between 130 mile an hour gusts and a 99 mile an hour gust, and a big difference between, you know, a sustained wind somewhere near the circulation center of 140 and 55, okay? Now, the other argument is, and I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but when you hear maximum sustained winds, those are only over a very small part of the overall circulation. So the chance of that particular part going over an observing station is quite small. But my argument here is that we're talking about a bigger difference than that. Okay, we're talking about 55 miles per hour, the highest sustained wind in a Category 4 hurricane that went right over me. Okay, something's going on there. Okay, and it's not engineering, and it's not a human influence and all that sort of stuff. Okay, stuff frustrates the heck out of me. But anyway, they could very well have been that the lower part of the atmosphere was too stable and just didn't allow the higher level winds to mix down. We shall see. But this is just my first shot at it, and I just thought it would be fun to do that. All right, so that is the bonus weather video number 1 for this week. Hope you found that at least somewhat intriguing. Next one coming up Wednesday, next daily update tomorrow. And I will be in the Triangle tomorrow. Going to be meeting at the Panera Bread on Glenwood Avenue at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. So if you have a hole in your schedule and you can stop by for just even a minute and say hi, would love to see you. So hopefully we'll see some of you then. If not, we'll see you via this medium later on tomorrow afternoon. All right, folks, take care. See ya.